everyone, today I have a super exciting video for me, and I will tell you in a little bit why this is so special for me. But today we're going to be testing out the Glaminatrix Cosmetics Sandra Rose palette. Glaminatrix is an Australian brand. I have done a video on their shadows in the past. I will link down in the corner if you want to check that out. But I am just really excited about this palette because I have been talking to the owner of this brand for quite a while on Instagram, like just, you know, casually being friends or whatever, because that's what people do. And she reached out to me and she was like, hey, can I have your input on my new palette? And I was just like, of course, what can I help you with? And she was like, well, can you take a look at this and just like let me know your thoughts and what you think of the color story that I have going on so far? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then we kind of started talking and we ended up sending like Photoshop pictures back and forth to like figure out what the final color story of this palette was going to look like. So I have helped in the process of making this palette, which is so cool. So thank you so much for including me in, you know, just making this palette, because I know how special this palette is to you. So this palette right here is named after her mom and her daughter. Sandra was her mom's name and she passed away from cancer a while ago, and Rose is the name of her little baby. So this is a very special palette to her, and so obviously it's, you know, a special palette to me now as well. So I will show you what the palette looks like. Here is the slip of it, obviously, and then you have the ingredients here on the back. And then when you slide out the palette looks exactly the same as the slip, except it doesn't have the ingredients. So if you want the ingredients and you want to get this palette, might want to keep the slip. I'm not going to keep the slip because I don't care. So let me show you the color story of this palette now. I think this is absolutely beautiful. Like I said, I'm probably a little bit biased because I did help to pick out these shades, but I'm just so excited to play with this color story. I'm excited to see what the formula is like. I'm just excited to sit down and have some fun with this. And she was also so nice to send me some more of her single shadows. I love her single shadows. Her shimmer formula is absolutely incredible. So she ended up sending me all of these. I mean, aren't these just the most vibrant, beautiful shadows that you have ever seen? I'm not going to be trying these in this video, but I'm gonna do another video where I do multiple looks with this palette and then include some of the other things here with the palette as well. And she also ended up sending me some of her new pigments. So I have 4 of the pigments here. Again, I'm not going to use those in today's video, but I will try to use some of these in, you know, the upcoming video that I am going to make with this palette. So when I do my 3 looks 1 palette with this, I'm going to kind of do it in a way where I use mainly this palette, but I'll pull in other shadows to work with this palette as well. I think that would be like a interesting twist because I don't really ever do that. So I'm just really excited. I want to swatch this palette now. I honestly haven't touched it yet. I got it yesterday and I've just been staring at it. I did use one of the shades as my highlighter today. I did go in with Jasmine, which is this one right here. And I think that looks quite beautiful as a highlighter. So really happy about that. Anytime I get a shade in a palette that I can use on my face is always a win. You could probably use a lot of these as a blush as well, because this one, and this one would probably all be really beautiful as a blush, I would assume. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and swatch this, and then we're gonna go ahead and play with this because that's what I'm the most excited about. Okay, holy crap, I usually never make faces when I swatch, but this is the best swatched palette that I think I have in my collection. I mean, these are one swipe finger swatches. Like, I usually when I swatch, I will kind of go like this to just kind of distribute the color evenly, but I didn't have to do that with any of these except for this one, which is sort of like a chunky, a bit of a duochrome shimmer. It's almost like the ones that are in the Huda palettes. And it's this shade called Bloom. Let me see if I can show you a close-up so you can see. It's almost like it's kind of marbled in a way. It's very interesting. So that's the only shade that I found to be a little bit just not as smooth as the other ones, you know, more like a normal shadow. But I mean, look at these swatches. Are these not just... I don't even know what to say. I mean, they're so beautiful. I'm so excited to put these on my eyes. You guys have no idea. So I'm gonna go ahead and prime my eyes with my Smashbox Lip Primer. I have been loving this, and I'm gonna think about what to do. I have no plan at all, but I feel like whatever I do is going to end up being beautiful because this palette is beautiful. So let's hope it performs as well as the swatches. So I'm gonna prime my eyes and I'll be right back. Man, there are so many things I want to do with this palette. I don't even know where to begin, you know? I want to just put them all on my eyes at the same time, but I can't do that. I know I can't do that. There's too many. And I wouldn't be able to really get a good idea of the formula. So I think I'm first going to go into Nectar, which is the dark purple in this palette. And I feel like I'm kind of weird in that every time I get a new palette, the first thing I want to do is test out like the hardest to formulate shades. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I feel like if those perform good, like I know that the rest of the palette is going to be amazing. So I'm going to go into the dark purple. And just because it is a purple, I'm starting with this one first because these are usually the ones that tend to get patchy. So I'm going to go ahead and pack this on the outer corner of my eye here. That's such a beautiful dark purple. This is actually showing up darker on my eye than I expected it to, and I really love that. I love me a very, very dark purple. This is such a good shade to, you know, be able to deepen up a lot of different colors with, and I love that there's a purple in here. I mean, hey, that's laying down pretty nicely. I am not mad about this at all. I'm going to go ahead and pull this through my crease as well, but I'm going to keep this kind of low down here. And just a couple of things more about this palette if you guys were thinking about maybe picking this up. This is sold out right now because this was a pre-order, but I am pretty sure that she's going to restock this, so I would just keep your eye out on her Instagram if you were interested in getting this palette. This was $50, I think. I want to say 50 or 51 US dollars. It's more in Canadian or Australian dollars, I mean, obviously, because the Canadian dollar, or why do I keep saying Canadian? The Australian dollar is a lot weaker than the American dollar, so it is cheaper if you think of it as US dollars, which always makes me really happy, you know, when something is listed as a different currency, but then when you convert it, it ends up being cheaper, you know? It's always really nice. So this is one of my Sigma mini detail brushes. This is the E42. I've been loving this brush. I think this does such a good job of not only packing on color, but you can also use the edge of this to blend out everything with. And it's just really nice and precise without being too pointy, because sometimes I feel like small blending brushes are a little bit too pointy, and then you just get like kind of a streak in your crease when you try to blend things out. I will say this palette has a little bit of kick up, and so you don't want to be very heavy-handed with these. These are very delicate shadows, so a little goes a very long way, so you don't have to like swirl your brush or anything like that. I really like shadows that have a lot of kick up and that are very pigmented. I know a lot of people don't really like that, but if I could choose between shadows being buildable and having less kick up in the pan, or having more kick up in the pan and being very pigmented, I'm gonna choose the very pigmented any day of the week, because those are just the kind of shadows that I like to work with. So you can see now I'm keeping this pretty low down because I think I'm gonna go in with either like the minty green or the pastel-y blue, or maybe I'll do both. What if I try to blend this out using both of those shades? Could that be an idea? I don't want to overdo it either, you know? I don't want to make this super complicated, and I don't know why our dog is outside the door just dreaming and having a nightmare. I can just hear him like yelping in his sleep, and I feel kind of bad about it. Maybe I should go wake him up. Or maybe I won't, because I just want to play with makeup, and if he's having a bad dream, that's not my problem. So I'm gonna go into, what do I want to do? I just want to use them all. Oh, I don't know. I think I'm first gonna go into Vine, which is the kind of minty green shade. I think this is so beautiful. I can't wait to put that on my eye. So I'm gonna go ahead and find a very small fluffy blending brush. Let's try another one of these Sigma brushes. This is the E27. Again, this one also has a lot of kick up in the pan, so just make sure to, you know, not use a lot of pressure when you use these. So I guess I'm gonna go ahead and take that on. Let's do the inner part of my lid here, and then I'm gonna use the blue on possibly the outer part. I hope this doesn't end up being muddy, but I think I'll be okay. Oh, that's so beautiful. This color right here reminds me so much of one of the shadows in the Stroke Cosmetics Creepy Cute palette. Oh, that's so pretty. So I'm really just like stamping this on first, and then I'll go in and sort of blend these two colors together and make a bit of a better gradient here. This is working so well. I mean, that's really, really pretty. Taking this about halfway across, and then on the outer part of my crease here, I'm gonna go in with the blue and try to blend this out even further. And I really am going to try to just use as many shadows as I possibly can in this look. It might end up looking a little bit crazy. I don't know. We're just gonna have to wait and see. So this definitely turned into a bit more of a blue, but that's obviously because I mixed it in with the purple. So I'm next gonna go into Posy, which is the kind of sky blue shade. And I'm just gonna use the same brush here. Actually, I'm going to completely change my mind because I looked down into the palette and I saw Petal and I was like, I need to use Petal because that's such a beautiful shadow. So I'm instead gonna take Petal and I'm going to use that to blend out the outer part of my crease. So I'm just going to run my brush very carefully, just like right above here, and then meet that up with the kind of minty shade that I just put down. And because this did turn into a little bit of a blue because it mixed with the purple, I find that blending this out with a pink is going to work really, really well. And I'm just going to kind of tuck this pink right in between that blue and purple. Oh man, these are looking so nice and just soft. I really like this. I'm gonna go back in with that first brush that I used with the purple, and I'm gonna dip back into the purple, and I'm just going to see if I can intensify this a little bit and make this a little bit darker again. A lot of the time it's really hard to, you know, build purple on top of itself, but we're gonna just try and see what happens. So I feel like I was able to build up that purple very nicely. That looks really good. I'm also going to go into Vine again, which was the kind of minty green. And I'm just going to make sure that this isn't just all blue here. And just tap a little bit more of that right on top. Just to bring back that color a bit. So I think this is looking really pretty. Now the question is, what do I want to do on my lid? I don't even know what I want to do on my lower lash line. I think I'm gonna go into Flora, which is the darkest of the shimmers in this palette. So this is kind of like a, how would I explain this? Like a gray purple kind of. And I think I'm gonna put that on the outer part of my, not crease, on my lid. And I'm gonna go ahead and spray that, of course. Not that these shadows need it at all. I mean, these shimmers are almost as beautiful when you don't spray your brush, but I mostly just want to not get any fallout. Isn't that the most beautiful kind of pinky purple shade you've ever seen? That's stunning. So I'm just focusing that on the outer part of my lid here. And I'm kind of blending it into that purple, but I do want the purple to still show. Oh, that's so pretty. Sorry, I'm so quiet. I'm just so distracted by just like staring at my eyeshadow right now. I love that. So I think for the rest of my lid, I'm gonna go into Bloom because I really want to try this. This looks so unique and just shiny and sparkly and duochromy, and I want to see how this works on the eyes. So it is picking up quite chunky on my brush here, so I'm definitely gonna go ahead and spray this, and then we'll see how it lays down. Hopefully it's going to smooth out nicely here. So I'm just going to place that on the rest of my lid here. This definitely could be more of a topper type of shade. I do feel like it's maybe a little bit chunky applied with a brush. This might be one of those shades that are just better applied with your finger, but you guys know I don't like to use my fingers, so that's just not happening. But it's absolutely beautiful. I do feel like it would probably be a little bit better as a topper shade. Or maybe used with some glitter glue as well. That could also be a good idea, but I mean, that's stunning still. That is really, really, really pretty. So am I happy with this? Is this where I want to leave it? I actually think I want to take a little bit of that blue shadow. So Posy, I'm going to dip into this one just very lightly. And I'm gonna go ahead and just put a little bit of this just right in my crease here. And then going back in with Bloom again and just putting a little bit more just right in the inner part here. I just wanted my crease to be a little bit darker, but I didn't want to pull in something as dark as the purple. Yeah, I think this is more what I'm looking for. I really like this. I think this is really pretty. So now for the lower lash line. I feel like I still want to use all of the shadows in this palette, but I probably shouldn't because it's gonna end up looking crazy. So what is it that I really want to do? I kind of want to go in with Nectar again and just kind of wrap that around down to my lower lash line. And then for the inner part here, maybe I'll just go in with Vine and just kind of keep it cohesive. I think that's what I'm going to do. So here is the real question. How is the purple going to perform on my lower lash line with no eyeshadow primer? And the answer is really, really good. I'm so impressed by this purple, you guys. I think this purple is amazing. I'm then going to go into Petal, which was the matte pink, and I'm just going to kind of wrap this around down to my lower lash line as well and help blend out this purple a little bit. And I am so tempted to change my mind and go in with a shimmer on the inner part here because I just can't help myself when it comes to eyeshadows. I think I'm gonna go into Flourish just because I want to use this. This is a beautiful light blue shimmer, and I'm gonna go ahead and just put that on the first part of my lower lash line down here. It's almost like a silvery blue. It's really, really pretty. Oh, love how that looks. And I think I'm also going to take just the tiniest amount of Jasmine, which is the lightest of the shades here, and just put a little bit of that just like right in my inner corner, you know, just between the two shadows that I just put down here. Just gently give that a little tap just right here. And the mirror in this palette is actually so good. Why I'm using this, I have no clue, but I somehow just like put it up and now I'm using it. And I really like this. I feel like you could actually bring this traveling and you could use this mirror to do your makeup. Even though I wouldn't bring this palette traveling just because it's a very delicate palette and I wouldn't want to risk it breaking. So I really like this look. I think this is very different from anything that I've ever done. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of my eyes. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about this palette because I definitely have some thoughts. And yeah, that's basically going to be it. So I think in my waterline, I'm going to either go with Zulu and kind of tie in like the inner part here. Or I'm going to go with Crybaby by Colourpop. Ooh, I don't know which one I want to do. I think actually this isn't Crybaby, this is Prance. But I'm going to do one of these two. And then I'll do some liner, mascara, put on a lipstick, and I'll be right back. Alright, so here is the completed look. I really like how this turned out. So I did go for the Zulu liner in my waterline, and I feel like that really tied it in with my crease color. For lips, I'm actually wearing some of her lipstick samples that she sent me. So, I mean, I don't think these are in production. These are basically just prototypes, and she wanted, you know, to send me some and ask for my thoughts. So that's what I'm wearing on my lips. Can't tell you what it's called or anything, but so far I really like it. I think it's really cute. Doesn't necessarily go with my look that well, but I still wanted to try out the formula. So this is what I'm wearing. So as for my thoughts on this palette, I mean, honestly, I am really impressed. I thought that all of the shadows I used performed beautifully. I thought they were all very pigmented. I don't necessarily know like how well they build because I didn't really build a lot, if you know what I mean, but like the purple that I used, I was so impressed by that. I thought that blended out really nicely. Yes, I did put it down as my first shade because I like to do that with purples, and usually I don't really have problems with purples when I put them down as my first shade, but I mean, it still stuck really nicely to my lower lash line, which I didn't have any eyeshadow primer on, so I honestly don't really have any complaints about this palette at all so far. I can't wait to just play more with this. I want to play more with the singles that she sent me. I want to play with the pigments. I just want to play with everything. So funny story, last night I was talking to her on Instagram and I told her that I was going to film this video, and she told me that she was pretty nervous about it, and I was like, no, it's fine. Like, don't be. Of course, it's gonna be fine. Deep down, I'm like, I'm kind of nervous too because like, what if I don't like this, you know? Like, I feel like it's not like my name is on this palette, but I know that I've kind of helped make this palette, and that makes this palette very special to me. And like, of course I want this to be really, really good, and I'm so happy to say that I'm not disappointed at all, and I think that this palette is great, and I can't wait to play more with this. I can't wait to do more looks with this. I'm not going to do 10 because that takes forever, but I mean, so far really happy about this. So yeah, just keep an eye on her Instagram if you guys were interested in getting this palette. I will link it down in the description box so you can easily find it. But yeah, that's going to be today's video. So thank you so much for watching as always. If you're new to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.